In this episode, Trax is attempting to get to Shiji Island, one of about 90 islands which make up the Pescadores, or Penghu, an archipelago located approximately 20 nautical miles off the west coast of Taiwan in the Taiwan Strait. We will start in the harbour of Makong, where we will board our boat and cruise between the islands which make up the township of Wang'an, before arriving at our first destination, the island of Shiyuping. Then we will head another mile east to visit Dongyuping Island before making another voyage across open water to Shiji, or Ghost Island. Shiji Island is completely abandoned and has been for about 40 years, and there are steep penalties for those who try to set foot on the island without a valid permit from the government. Will we achieve our objective of reaching this long-forgotten, strange outpost of Taiwan? Join Team Trax to find out. Shiyuping, our first port of call. Shiyuping is largely abandoned. It consists of a small harbour, a temple, an abandoned school, and a small power station at the lower level. Climb up the hill and you will find an abandoned village. In fact, a few of the houses are kept nicely, as several of the residents return once or twice a year. So now I'm on top of a house in the centre of the village on top of Shiyuping, and behind me are the houses which would have made up the bulk of the village. Typically each house had about 10 or 15 people inside. As with most of the islands that were inhabited around this area of Penghu, most of the residents relied on subsistence farming and agriculture. And you can see behind me, it's really, really barren. All of the residents have now left. It's not difficult to see why. It's nice. Now it's very, very hot. But in the winter, you can imagine how barren and windy this place will be. And I think living conditions would have been very bad here. But despite that, look at the view. Isn't it just fantastic? Such a clear day. This temple is still functioning, it's still an active temple, and it's maintained by the only 3 residents who live here on the island. The government of Taiwan is required by law to supply amenities like power and water to the island if there are residents here. And there are residents here. There are 3 people living here, and their job is to keep the power station running. So there's 3 people here keeping a power station running for themselves. Now there's another reason, which is political, why the government keeps this island functioning, and that's because there's a voter base here. Now, although all of the residents have left, apart from the 3 people who are still here, there are still technically 300 households living here, or they have a voter base here, which is 300 people who originally lived on the island. Now they live elsewhere in Taiwan, in Penghu, Tainan, Kaohsiung, but they actually come back here to vote. Dongyuping Island is our second stop on our adventure. This island is frequented by tourists, and there is a B&B located on the island should you wish to stay the night. However, there are no scheduled passenger services to the island. It was very difficult to survive on this island, and some of the houses date back over 100 years, and all the houses are made out of stone mined from the island. And they mined it in such a way that they mined the stone and the coral, and they purposely left terraces, and in the terraces that they mined into the mountains, they grew root vegetables. Now, unfortunately, there's not enough arable or fertile land, to grow things like rice or wheat. Most of the food the islanders ate here were fish from the sea, and also the root vegetables they grew on the terraces. The Japanese also had an occupation on this island where they hollowed out some natural caves, and they used those to store ammunition and also hide if the island was bombarded by the Allies during World War II. There's also some stone defensive walls on the island, and the Japanese, during colonial times, got the villagers to actually build the walls for them.
Located on the east side of the island is Gold Dragon Tower, one of the many towers on these islands supposed to ward off evil spirits. Early islanders made their mark by etching out terraces on the hills to provide flat land to grow hardy root vegetables. Now the land is home to the several hundred goats who are free to roam around unhindered.
Behind me here is the main settlement of Donyuping. A lot of the houses are abandoned, but there's a visitor centre and a public toilet and also a generator station for the electricity for the island. Here there's a small tower, and that's one of the towers that we use to signal for help if somebody was in distress here and they needed help from the neighbouring islands in the past. And what they would do is they would light a torch on top of the tower and it could be seen for miles around. That's before the days, obviously, of the telegram and also wireless communications. Aside from serving as a distress beacon, the tower also served to ward off evil spirits coming from the ocean, which tried to take away the spirits of the villagers who lived on the island.
The underwater environments are some of the most pristine in all of Taiwan, and one of the main attractions is the fabulous and impressive blue coral.
Busy schedule today, we don't really have time to explore the whole island because we're just about to go all the way over there. This is what we've been waiting for all day. It's going to be great. It really is an eye-opening experience to come here to this archipelago and see how people live and used to live. Okay, so behind me is Blue Cave, and it's on the north coast of Shiji Island. This cave was formed because of the basalt structures of the north coast. What's happened is the sea has eroded part of the basalt structure behind me, and the top part of the structure has fallen in, which has created a kind of blowhole on top of the island.
Anyone swimming or entering the cave could face fines of hundreds of thousands of Taiwan dollars.
Okay, so here we are on the north coast of Shiji Island, and only people who have previous residency here or ancestors who used to live here are allowed to actually access the island. If you don't have relatives or you didn't previously live here, then unfortunately you need a permit. Take a closer look. It's hot, it's remote, it's tiring. We've come a long way.
We are in Ghost Island.
Finally, we're on Shiji Island. It's been a long time coming. It's been a lot of preparation to get here, but we're here. Just in the first 10 minutes, it's amazing. Just these 15 or 20 square meters, there's so much sea life. And yeah, even if you just stay here for the rest of the duration of the trip, it's going to be great because there's starfish, there's fish in the rock pools, there's sea urchins. I'm already impressed. It's a really nice island already.
since getting here, we noticed that one of the biggest challenges for us on this island, except for the intense heat, and you have no idea how hot it is here. It is really, really hot, and the sun is absolutely baking. But the long grass has slowed us down a lot. There's nowhere where the grass is short enough for us to progress quickly. We're having to fight through this long grass, and it's taken a lot of energy and a lot of time.
The earliest records of Shiji date back to 1684, where it's described as an island untouched by civilization. There are three main dangers on Shiji: the ocean, the snakes, and the wells.
It's one of the many wells which have been dug on the island. And this one's very easy to see, it's very clear. So luckily we didn't fall down it, but in the long grass, another danger is that there are wells hidden. So you have to really be careful where you're treading. The possibility of falling down a well is actually quite high on this island.
Due to danger being everywhere, and also due to a shortage of immediate supplies, a tradition of storing coffins upright in houses was observed. Coffins were sometimes given as gifts to parents during marriage ceremonies.
So we're pretty much in this part of the centre of the island, centre of the settlement, where there's some pretty intact houses. These may have been the final houses to have been evacuated. It was a government policy, a government relocation policy, which caused the island to be abandoned like it is today. Not a single person lives on this island. The last remaining resident left the island in 1984, and since then the island has been totally abandoned.
Okay, so here we are in one of the residences, the old residences of this island. I think this was an old fishing house. Just above me here there's some hooks, and I think probably in the past what they did is they would hang the nets out across the doorway here to dry. You can see the artwork on the walls. It's actually pretty nice. So I can imagine it was quite a nice place to live back in the day. It's actually quite a shame to see it all abandoned like this. But this is how it's going to be. One of the focal points to our visit to Shiji was the temple. Abandoned with the roof collapsed, the artwork and carved timber can still be appreciated among the ruins. The temple was constructed in 1873 to worship General Shifu, a general during the Tang dynasty.
Just in this area here, there are many graves. All these stones sticking out of the grass, these are graves of the residents who have died here. So males were buried nearer the sea because they went out to fish, traditionally. And the women, they were buried closer to the inland because they tended the farms and tended the houses. So you see the graves are split between male and female. Females closer to the land, males closer to the sea. You see here, there's a rather big grave there. And all these stones here, they're not really headstones as such, they're just stones with no engraving at all.
The first census on the island was during 1918, where there were 383 residents. Because of a lack of a decent port on Shiji Island, Shiji residents relied on neighbouring donji for necessities and basic services, such as education. Although there was a small elementary school on the island.
In the early days, the communities developed on this island due to trade between Taiwan and China. This was a midpoint trading island, and a lot of trade passed through here. In fact, some of the ships in the Qing dynasty had to stop here to trade. One of the other reasons why communities developed here was because of the high level of smuggling. This was a smuggling island. There's a lot of smuggling stories associated with this island.
Residents of Shiji found the feng shui of the island to be bad, and to be at fault for bad weather, death, and illness. 7 towers were erected over the years to balance the feng shui, to protect against the forces of Dongji Island, and to guard against the weather and evil spirits. Built in 1864, the oldest tower was Wanduan Tower, constructed to guard against the threatening crab shape of Dongji Island.
Then there's Sand Ditch Tower, built to ward off the evil spirits of Tiger Head Mountain on nearby Dongji Island. For it was said that Shiji Island's newborn children would inherit red eyes from the spirits of the mountain until they were 1 year old. Safe Tower was built in 1951. It was built to worship the land gods which guard the shore, wish for safety and a good harvest.
And these towers have a primary purpose of warding off spirits from ghosts of people who have died in shipwrecks. In 1956, the Guanshan ship sailing from Kaohsiung to Maogong shipwrecked just off the coast over there, about a kilometre off the coast, and 100 people lost their lives. Out of 106 people on board, 100 people died, perished in the sea. Local residents from the island tried to save the people by swimming out with ropes, but to no avail. So this tower here also has a secondary purpose. At the top there is a plate, or used to be a copper plate, and they would put oil there and light it in times of distress. So people from the neighbouring island over there could come along and rescue whoever needed help.
During Japanese rule of Taiwan, the Japanese military ordered the residents of Shiji to build a double-walled defense around part of the perimeter of the island, which can still be seen today. Located to the west of the island is an oddly shaped lake, and it was dug in this way due to reasons of feng shui. It used to supply fresh drinking water to the residents of the island, and along with the double-walled defensive structure built by the Japanese, it's very impressive from the air.
So where I'm standing now are some terraces or gardens. They're all defined by walls here, these stone walls. And what they would have grown here is a kind of turnip, which was specially grown here in Shiji. It could withstand the harsh environments and the harsh, salty soil.
From 1969, Shiji experienced a steady decline in population. In 1976, the population was only 106 people, and due to the cost of maintaining a community on the island, the government of Taiwan encouraged the remaining residents to move to Maogong, the main city in Penghu. Financial incentives were given to encourage residents to move, as well as the withdrawal of services and assistance. By 1984, the very last resident had left Shiji Island forever.
Now there are three dangerous things about this island. One is the ocean, one is the wells that you can fall down, and the other are snakes. Luckily we haven't seen any snakes today. There's so many banded kraits on this island, and the many-banded krait is one of the most venomous snakes in the whole world, so, you know, harmless enough. They're actually pretty docile, so if you do come across them, they're really no trouble. Now, we're in a massive rush, we've got one island to get to, and it's over there, so see you later.
Dongji is our final stop. It was getting late when we arrived, and night was drawing in.
On the top of Dongji, there is an old Japanese military, well, it's a lookout tower, so they would have looked out across the ocean to see or spot any planes coming in, which would have tried to bomb this outpost of Japanese colonial Taiwan. Over there we have a bunker as well, so if the Allies did actually bomb this island, there's a bunker there for the soldiers to retreat to. And here are the foundations of what would have been some kind of barracks for the Japanese. And again, on the outside here you have a fortification or fortified wall.
There is a crashed aircraft on the island, an islander registered to Taiwan Airlines, which crashed in 1987.
It's here, it's crashed.
The lighthouse on Dongji is one of the brightest in Taiwan and was built by the Japanese in 1911.
And out of all the people who live on the island, which is 20 in total, 2 live here.
Dongji in the past was known as Little Shanghai and was home to 2,000 people at one time. This was due to the island being a staging port for trade between Taiwan and China, and also due to the high amount of smuggling prevalent in the area.
Just closing up on the final island of the day. You see the sunset behind me, it's just setting just over Shiji Island where we've just been. It's been a lovely day today, we've had a great time. All four of us it's just been great going around the islands, and we're going to do it again soon, I think. Thanks very much for watching. Alright, so at the end of the day, we're just going to introduce our team. This is Jonathan here, who's made everything possible by arranging lots of things over here in Penghu. This is Michael, boss of Guanxi Media. This is Aful, who made it possible by being our great captain and taking us out to all the islands. This is Colin, who's been behind the camera all day. And I've been your host. Thank you very much. Aful, cheer.
Cheer, Aful.